My name's Denton Nestibo. Um, Lauren's asked me to just say a few words about uh, my journey and my experience with working with Back to Your Roots. So I'd just like to do a quick poll here. Who here is currently has worked with the Back to Your Roots products and has applied them? Okay. Is there anyone here that hasn't used any of their products but is kind of hemming and hawing or wondering about it? Okay. I hope I can say a few things to both of those groups because I've been in both camps and I really haven't. I'm not that far into my journey, and it wasn't that long ago I was uh, in the other camp. So I have down here wrote life story, so you better just buckle up here, I guess. So I'll just give you a bit of background on me. I've been in a farming family forever. My great grandpa came from Norway, and my grandpa farmed and my dad farmed, and so naturally I've been around the farm my whole life. And my background is on a big farm. We had a big family farm. My dad farmed with three of his brothers, and so I started young doing anything that was asked of me or anything that needed to happen. So, and I pretty much drifted along until I was a little bit older, in about 2018 or so, when I decided that I wanted to start looking into things a little more deeply and finding out, trying to just be a little more forward thinking of what I actually want to do. So I started doing some trials on some of the land that I was farming with them, and first thing I was first thing that you naturally go to is like return on investment, right? Like, what am I getting a return on? And so I started doing some things differently than the rest of the farm was doing. I started more inputs, so I was doing fungicide, like with the herbicide on my wheat, and I was doing fungicide again at heading and adding manipulator and all these things to see what the return would be. And that was in 2019, and I just remember I spent 6 bushels of wheat to get 6 bushels of wheat. And so that was kind of the start of my just journey into like what's going on here, right? Like why is this not giving me the return that I'm supposed to get? So the next year, 2020, I completely went the opposite way and I just did nothing. I just seeded my wheat and sprayed herbicide, but just left it and just didn't desiccate either, didn't trample anything, and I ended up with like the best yielding wheat on the farm without any of the extra inputs. So and I haven't sprayed a fungicide since then. So that was kind of the start of that was the end of that leg of my journey. And then in 2021, I decided to go and farm by myself. And that was it was an emotional time for me to leave the family farm and everything and go off on my own. And I had this cousin, I got to give him a shout out here. He's here today. His name's Darcy Nestibo, and he was always doing different things. He's putting on this compost stuff, and he's, adding these different types of phosphorus, and he's analyzing all these things. So I kind of had that in the back of my head. But at the time, I was just looking to get my work done on my own farm, and I didn't really focus on it a lot. So for a couple of years, I kind of got my own system down pat, and things were actually going really well without doing any sort of separate biological anything. But I still just kind of felt a call that I had to try to do something else. I had to try to see what this was all about. So that was the winter where I came to the Back to Your Roots conference in Saskatoon that year. And I really did a lot of research that winter on like composting and Johnson Sioux composting and just different ways of doing things. And I met Lauren, and you guys know Lauren, he's a pretty easy guy to trust. So the that was the 2023 would have been the first year that I used his program, and I also used it in 2024. And I'm also making my own Johnson Sioux compost and different things. And I I I was going to start talking about some anecdotal evidence and things, that I've seen, and I have seen those things, and I have been cutting nitrogen rates and going to more P2O5 phos, like away from low salt phosphoruses, and just cutting that completely and using the EFOS. But there's other producers here that have done that longer than I have, and could probably give you more anecdotal evidence. I've done the eye test. I've switched it off and switched it on and seen the difference. But I just want to talk about something a little bit different that we usually kind of skip over. We don't talk about a lot. This last year in 2024, I really got my ass kicked actually on my farm. I bit off a little bit more than I could chew with my air seeder maintenance, and I had a late start to the year, and I put myself behind the 8 ball for the whole year, and I just kind of never caught up. I got this shiny new spray drone, and I kind of got distracted with it, and was building a trailer for it, and I just ended up spending a lot of time on that, and I didn't end up. I had big plans to make another big batch of compost and seed some cover crops after harvest, but just none of it ended up happening. So it just because I just didn't have the right mindset. I didn't put myself in a position to have the mental capital to do some of these things that I wanted to do, and same with some of these things I wanted to apply. Like, doesn't matter if there's 2 things on that list or if there's 20. If you don't put yourself in a position to be able to apply those things, then it doesn't matter, right? So that's kind of like my main takeaway from 2024 is really just being a little nicer on yourself. Maybe it means asking a neighbor for some help, or hiring more of your work out, or maybe it just means simplifying your rotation or something, or just figuring it out for yourself of what you need to do to sort of get your mind in a place where you have the capital to apply some of these things. So I just ended up feeling a little bit paralyzed. So that's all I have to say about that. I brought my Bible up here. I did want to read a verse, but I think I'm just going to paraphrase a little bit. In this book, the disciples ask Jesus multiple times, "What can we do to enter the kingdom of heaven? And what miraculous sign are you going to show us that we are on the right path?" And Jesus always responds something to the tune of, if you believe in me, then you will never be hungry and you will never be thirsty. He doesn't say, if you're no-till, then you will never be hungry or thirsty. Or it doesn't say, if you apply the right calcium or whatever, you will be hungry or thirsty. You won't be hungry. He says, if you believe in me. So I think that's important, because what we're looking for, whether you're organic or conventional or regenerative, we can squabble about the details, but I think really what we're looking for is what is true. And I think we've seen what is false, right? We've seen the last about 4 decades of what we've been doing, and we see the sickness, right? We see it in the hospitals. We see it even mentally with other conventional farmers, and we see it in the soil, right? We see the weeds and the compaction and so I think if we just focus on what looking for the truth. So there's two ways to live your life or go on your journey down this path. There's two F's. The first one is fear. And fear is looking to the past. Fear is saying this is the way that we've always done it. Fear is believing the critics. You know, that cover crop, it's gonna use up your water. It's gonna tie up your nutrients. If you cut that nitrogen rate in half, you're gonna have a wreck. If you're not applying phosphorus, you're mining your soil for future generations. It's just so easy to fall into fear. But then there's the other F, faith. And faith is looking to the future. Faith is believing that with the right mindset, I can succeed. Faith is saying, I see the changes in my land, and trusting your gut. Faith is saying, I believe that I can fight disease in my soil, Aphanomyces or verticillium or clubroot. But the devil will always try to drag you back to fear. And he'll use whatever means he can. He'll use people close to you. He'll lie to you and gaslight you and do it whatever way he can. So I just want to encourage you to live in faith and seek the truth. Thanks.